And we always tell them, 1 is below average. 2 is average. 3 is above average. 0 is unacceptable. And if that continues, you're not going to be employed here anymore.
Yeah. We're going to build a great team, a great culture, and a great company. Mark my words, I'm going to build the biggest real estate company in the world.
Inhibition, follow your intuition, free your inner soul and break away from tradition. Cause when we be out, girl is pulling me down.
What's going on, everybody? Look at this shit. We got like an official setup right now. I bought a mic. I invested in like a nice little setup so that this feels like a legit like show now. This is like a fucking series. Welcome back to 0 to a Million, where I will be building a business from 0 to a million. My name is Liam, and this is season 2, episode 4, I'm pretty sure. A lot going on. We have so much to talk about. First of all, I am in Boca Raton, which is where, if you've been following along with the series, when I first moved to Florida, this is where I live. In fact, I actually lived in an apartment complex that was literally probably less than 30 seconds away from where I'm at right now. Very happy to be back in Boca. I was in Miami before, if you weren't keeping track, and Miami sucks. It's just fucking horrible. Everyone is a pretentious asshole. They live in like their own little world. There's traffic everywhere. It's expensive. Nobody speaks English. Boca is a lot more my kind of vibe. It's very bougie. It's very nice. There's a lot of very, very wealthy people that live here, but they're more like low key. They're not like, look at my Lambo. It's just more like, down to earth, salt of the earth kind of rich people instead of like, fucking Gucci, Louis, fucking retards. So I'm very happy to be back in Boca. Business is going well. We have a lot to talk about. There's a lot that's happened in the last 30 days. I know last episode we talked about how we had our second deal under contract. That deal did close on October 15th. It closed, went very, very smoothly. As you guys know, I sold the deal to someone that I trust dearly, and it came through, and very happy. All the parties, involved got what they wanted. It was a smooth transaction. Everybody did their job, and that's exactly how I like to do business. So we want to do that at a bigger scale now. And so yeah, we closed that deal for $15K, and immediately after, I started to plan out like, all right, how do we reinvest and scale bigger? How do we do this more consistently and at a bigger scale? The idea that I had was obviously, to hire more people. So I decided it would be a good idea to triple my workforce, right? I had 2 part-time employees, which is like the same as 1 full-time. And I decided to hire 2 more full-time employees so that I would have pretty much the equivalent of 3 full-time employees. And that was, in theory, a good idea, but we've been definitely facing some growing pains. So let's talk about it. I would say that there were really like 3 things that I was having a hard time with. The first was the hiring process. Just trying to find the right people and knowing, how to go about finding the right people was something that I was struggling with, because I was kind of just going off of instinct. If they had real estate experience, if they spoke good English, and if they seemed like they were like, ambitious and with it, then like I hired them. What I would do is I would just kind of bring people on and see how they did, right? And looking back, I think the smarter thing to do would have been to actually make calling and talking and, role-playing and all that stuff, make that part of the hiring process so that, when I'm in the middle of interviewing someone, I can kind of just get an idea for how they talk, what they're going to sound like on the phone and stuff like that. But also, I was looking for the wrong things, and we're going to dive into that in a second. So that was the first thing. And then the biggest issue for me was as I scaled, I started to see our call metrics declining, right? So a good example would be our contact rate. So what contact rate is it's like there's how many numbers you dial, and then there's how many people you actually speak to, meaning how many people actually answer the phone and you have a conversation. That number was declining rapidly as I scaled, and I couldn't really figure out why. And so that was an issue. And I noticed that, I tripled my workforce, but the leads that were coming in did not triple with it. These are some examples of the growing pains that we were dealing with. And so I did a lot of things to try and help. First, I thought that, the issue could be with the data. So I split tested from some different companies to see, was the data not accurate? Like, were we not calling the right phone numbers? Then I thought maybe it was the dialer, like the software that we were using to actually make calls. So I changed the software. And all of these things, created slight differences, but nothing that was like, oh, that was the issue, And so it got to a point where I was really lost, and I felt like I just needed some guidance. And that's when I decided to do something that I have never done in my life. I paid for coaching. That's right. I spent some big money on a 2-hour coaching call with someone that I respect very much. But yeah, for real. So I paid for coaching from a guy who, I have a friend who I know his business partner, and they have a 7-figure real estate company out in California doing the exact same thing that I'm, trying to build. And they use the same marketing methods, which is cold calling, right? Their company is exactly what mine should look like in a few months from now. right? And so I figured, hey, we're not in the same market. This guy has posted a lot of content, so I know that he's not like a fucking scammy dumbass, right? Like, I know that this guy is sharp. He's on the ball. It's someone who, I wanted his opinion. I wanted to know what he thought of everything that's going on in my business. I had spoken to him in the past, so I hit him up. I said, yo, how much do you charge for coaching? He told me a number, which I will keep private out of respect for him. But I spent the money. I paid him for the coaching call. We had it last Thursday, and I will say it has helped. It has helped a lot. I have a much better understanding of A, what I was doing wrong, and B, what I should be doing instead. So I would say that it was money well spent, in my opinion. Let's talk about it. Here are some lessons that I learned from the coaching call, and I'll play some snippets of it as well. So the first thing that he explained to me that I was doing wrong was I was placing too much responsibility on my $5 an hour Filipino cold callers.
The thing about it is she shouldn't be asking bed and bathroom and updating and all that crap. First thing, would you ever consider selling? Oh yeah, I was thinking about it. Okay, no worries. Now let me ask you: is the property in pretty good shape, or does it need a little bit of work? Simple. Okay, great. I'm gonna go ahead and pass all your information to my manager. He'll give you a call sometime today or tomorrow with an offer. Okay, great. Have a wonderful day. Bye. Boom. Lead.
Yeah.
Get off.
No timeline or anything like that.
You don't need any of that shit, bro. Because the acquisition manager are gonna have those high level conversations. You know what I mean?
Right. These people were having very high-level conversations with very low-level skills. They're in the Philippines, so they can't build rapport very well, right? There's significant cultural differences. There's significant language barriers, and I was having them have full-out conversations, trying to dig up information from these sellers, when really what I should have been doing was, do you want to sell your property? How does it look on the inside? What price do you want? And get off the phone, right? Those 3 questions and get off the phone. Not a whole conversation, because I'm just not putting them in a position to be successful, right? I should get the information that I absolutely, positively cannot live without, and then from there, send it over, and I'll talk to them from there, right? I could ask them about when they want to sell, why they want to sell. I can have those conversations about price, right? I can do all that stuff. It's not something that they should be handling. That was the first major thing that I was doing wrong, that he kind of was like, bro, this sounds horrible. And I was like, I took a lot of pride in my callers, and by the way, they're very good for $5 an hour Filipinos, but they're not very good for what I need. So I was surprised. I was surprised to hear him say that, my callers sound like shit. But he's not wrong, So that was an eye-opener. That definitely helped. And then the second thing that was an eye-opener as well was that he uses a 10-line dialer. So for those of you who don't really know how, calling softwares work, you have what's known as a power dialer, right? And so what a power dialer does is it has multiple lines calling, and then when one of those multiple lines actually gets connected to a person who picks up the phone and says hello, then it transfers it over like in real time, right? Obviously, the more lines that you have dialing at one time, the more conversations you're gonna have. Now, here's the issue with a power dialer. Let's say you have 5 lines calling at the same time and 2 people answer, you can only answer one of them. And so you actually end up hanging up on one and answering one. And so the more lines that you use per person, the more people you're actually gonna hang up on. Every person that you hang up on is a conversation that you could have had if you just use less lines, right? So I always was someone who preferred to use less lines, right? I always used a 3-line dialer, and that way we weren't, abandoning so many calls, and that way I was making the most out of my data. Now my coach uses a 10-line dialer. So I'm using 3, he's using 10. His callers on a 5-hour shift, we're talking to around 150 people. 150 people. Mine, we're talking to about 50 people a day. And so it's just straight math to understand he's gonna get in a lot more leads per caller per day than I am. And so yeah, it costs more money, it does. But you have to understand that you're paying your callers for their time. And so you wanna make the most of their time. So even if that costs more money, it's okay. Those people that we abandon, we can always call them back. So literally the next day after our call, I changed it to a 10-line dialer, and we abandoned a fuck ton of calls, but guess what? We had a lot more conversations, we had a lot more leads, and my callers were working. Where before, they were just sitting around waiting for the next call to come in, and they would wait 1, 2, 3 minutes. Now, every 20 seconds, they were getting another call, right? Boom, 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 boom. And they were busy, they were active, they were sending in leads, right? And that's the kind of energy that we need to get this fucking business going, right? Before, we were getting in 3 leads a day, right? Now, we're getting in 10 leads a day, right? And, based off of, the metrics that we've operated with on our first 2 deals, it takes about 90 leads for us to get a deal. We're getting 10 leads a day. Do the fucking math. Every 9 days, we're gonna get a deal. So I expect to have a fucking huge month in November. We didn't get 1 deal in October. I expect to have a very, very, very big month in November. I would say at least 2 deals. at least. So realistically, I could see 4 deals, like as a real possibility. Bottom line is, the coaching call was very helpful. I'm not super happy that we're spending so much money on data. Like, it's a little more than I could afford right now, but fuck it. I mean, you know me. I'll fucking put my balls to the wall. I don't give a fuck. So I think it's good. I think that it's a good thing that we're doing. I definitely feel like it's the right move, right? Before, I felt like I wasn't sure what was right and what was wrong. I think now I have a good understanding of what this business really looks like. And what it looks like is fucking, they make a fuck ton of calls, send in anyone that's interested. I fucking talk to them all day long, right? You want to sell, how much you want, right? And when the numbers line up, fucking lock it in, ink the deal, sell it, collect your cash. Boom. Simple. It's a simple business, right? Definitely, recommend coaching as long as it's not from some scammy fucking retard, right? Like you want to pick your coaches selectively, but if you have someone where you're like, damn, I would love to sit down with them for 45 minutes or an hour and just kind of pick their brain, like, do it. Spend the money. It's worth it. I would say 9 out of 10 times it's worth it. And if it's not worth it, that's on you for, picking a dumbass coach. But yeah, very excited about the business. We're like I said, we're getting in about 10 leads a day now. I expect to get in at least 200 leads this month. And I expect to close at least 2 deals from that. Big things ahead. This business is fucking growing. It's growing quickly. But before we wrap up here, I just want to say something real quick. So, as a lot of you guys know, I started this series after I blew up on TikTok, right? My videos got like 10 million views in like a couple of weeks. And so I decided to start this series, right? I was already, planning on building a company. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just fucking film it. And the reason that I wanted to film it was because everybody on TikTok was talking about white privilege. You're a white cis male, the patriarchy and systemic racism and this and that, right? Hopefully, if you've been following along, you can confidently see there ain't no fucking privilege. Like, I've suffered a lot, to make this business a reality. And I'm still suffering in a lot of ways, right? Like, I'm spending thousands of dollars with no guarantee that I'm going to get it back, right? Easy for you to say you have thousands of dollars to spend. It's like, well, I fucking didn't when the series started. I was fucking broke. Okay? So you've watched everything, like you've seen everything. So, it would be really cool if we can use this series to kind of put this discussion to bed, because until you've gone through all the shit that I've gone through in this series, you have no right to fucking talk about my privilege. Like, nobody's making this shit easier for me because I'm white or a man. Like, it's been really fucking hard. Really fucking hard. And I've just had to stick with it, and I've had to pay the price, and I've had to suffer the consequences. And anybody who can still look at this entire series and be like, well, if I was black, it would have been, harder. Like, bro, if you can look at that, there's something fucking actually wrong with you. So if you're black, if you're a woman, if you, literally, if you feel discriminated against in any way at all, until you can say that you've done what you've seen me do in this series, I don't want to hear dick about what you have to say, honestly. Because I know what goes on in those TikTok comments. I know what goes on in social media. I know what goes on in the world. And it's just people that aren't putting in the work, that aren't making the sacrifices, complaining about how they've been duped. And so the point of this series is to say, fuck you. You haven't been duped. You haven't done the work. That's why you make minimum wage. That's why you're struggling. That's why you're not being treated, the way that you would like to be treated, is because you're not putting yourself in the right position. You don't see me doing drugs. You don't see me fucking partying every night like crazy. You don't see me getting myself in thousands of dollars worth of debt. You don't see me spending money on Lambos and Gucci belts. Like, when this business does become successful, I just don't want to hear anything about, oh, you're white or you're straight, which I know I will, but at the end of the day, the reality of, where you're at is because of the decisions that you're making, right? I'm here. I'm fucking focused. Not everything, has been perfect, but I'm making good decisions. And sometimes those decisions are not rewarded and sometimes they are. And that's about the best you could ask for from life. The point is that I'm white. This has been a struggle. And if I was black and it was a struggle, then it would be racism. But because I'm white and it's a struggle, like, it's just a struggle. What I'm trying to say is that most of you guys are not putting in the work. You're just fucking trying to blame the patriarchy or racism or whatever, just to fucking say that your life is hard. But like, the point is like, my fucking life is hard too. You've watched me fucking struggle. You've watched me get my teeth cut. And I don't give a fuck, I just keep fucking moving. And then when I'm successful, that's gonna be why. Not because I'm white, straight, or any other fucking dumbass characteristics you could think of. Alright? So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next episode, hopefully with a couple more deals in the pipeline. And I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.